Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 18 of the anime series Ushio to Tora. And once again, just a badass episode, picking up from where we left off last week, with Ushio being, soul consumed, I guess you could say, by the beast spirit, by the innards of the beast spirit. The soul that is, its creator and everything was so obsessive to go after Hakame no Mono, as we saw in the previous episode. And what I found quite fascinating was the fact that, you basically have this Jimei spirit who collectively, got everyone together to help save Ushio, and she's referring to the soul within the beast spirit as Nissan, or, like that's sort of the sibling referential thing, brother, sister, whatever it is. And I began to wonder if there was actually, if she was actually the spirit incarnate, I guess you could say, of the sister of the original creator of the beast spirit. I don't know. They don't ever, sort of explicitly say one way or the other if that's the case or not. But what I loved about this episode was, Ushio's closest friends, Inoue and Nakamura, respectively, or Asuko, and they are the ones who come to the fore in this episode. And there was even a point where, as we're continuing on, we have these girls going one after the other to comb his hair, using the comb left over by his mother, the power that it wields, being strong enough to even fend off a direct attack, a direct stab by the spear, and all this yellow energy explodes out of it. That was absolutely insane. After each one of these girls successively do this, we have finally Hyo coming in, we saw him in sort of a cameo moment in the last episode, and I just got juiced, I got pumped, I had goosebumps when we saw him. I was like, hell yes, I wanted to see this character come back for a while now, as I said last time out, and here he was the one who put up like 12 barriers or whatever it is to keep all of this Hyo, not to be confused with him, Hyo, which, again, I hate how similar they sound, but I mean, all these nasty Hyo, keep them out from this one little contained area, and we basically see, I mean, it looks like at first Inoue might go over a cliff and she might die. Tora actually is full-on heroic, even though he's sort of passing everything off as, well, these are humans I want to eat, all that kind of stuff, which is hilarious. He's still doing very much heroic work, right alongside that bond and that evolution of, that dynamic between he and Ushio all throughout the course of this series. He's doing heroic acts, and he's doing things for the greater good, and he's actually enjoying it. And so it's really Nakamura almost coming to the point. It's like that Doctor Who thing where the Doctor almost professes his love, but then he disappears. We have Nakamura finally getting her hands around Ushio after she's already combed out one strand of hair. It wasn't enough, and she lunges at him, and they both go over the side of this cliff, and she's just like holding him like bear hug as they fall, and she's reflecting on this time when they were kids, basically. And at first he was making fun of her for being tomboyish, but then other bigger bullies were making fun of her along the same lines and trying to chase her away from, a field to play sports or whatever it was. And she was there first, and this guy knocks her on the ground, and we see Ushio came in and decked the sucker, sent him and his crew packing, because nobody steps to his girl, effectively. And right at the brink of the potential loss of these two characters, she's just about to admit she loves him. And that just, I mean, I had, I was getting misty-eyed, I was all like goosebumps at the same time. I was just so into it. And of course, you see that last shot just before they hit the ground of Ushio's face coming back through the light, breaking through that shattered glass effect of his eyes, which the monster version of Ushio is so incredibly animated. It just looked absolutely gorgeous and meticulous. And when this happens, I thought it was absolutely fascinating. Like, the barrier goes down just at that point, at the same time. And you've already got all these other guys, Ushio's dad and everything like that. The barriers they have put up have failed. And so right in the nick of time, almost like the cavalry over the hill, here comes Ushio reborn in full beast spear mode and everything, and he and Tora then effectively wipe out the entirety of the Hyo. And it's insane how they do it. Like, at first he's stabbing through a line of them, but then he's like, you know, Tora, use your electricity magic and all this kind of stuff, and then pass it through the beast spear, and they illuminate the entire night sky. It looks like daytime for a couple of seconds, and everyone just stops and they're looking up to the sky, and it's like, this is it. It worked. Ushio's back, you know? And I was like cheering basically at that point. And I love that one little effect if you know, are watching as all the Hio finally pass away, as they're wiped out. There's this great sort of animation looking over the mountains of all of the blackness of the remnants of them forming into a hand, you know, calling back to Hakama no Mono. And we hear that this cave that, you know, Ushio and the Beast Spear were driving toward this entire time, there isn't fully Hakama no Mono, but there's a part of Hakama no Mono contained within it. And we know through the course of successive centuries, between fighting yokai and fighting humankind and you know, masters of weaponry like this and everything in the occult, we know that Hakama no Mono has had, you know, many run-ins in his history, so to be broken up makes some kind of sense. But this is going to be the final challenge as Ushio wakes up out of this. And he's even in sort of a stupor, and he's complimenting all these girls. It was all a dreamlike experience to him. He doesn't even know that he was full-on monstered out. He could only be sort of, you know, the conceptualization in his mind is what he experienced being contained within the Beast Spear. He has no memory or knowledge of what he did on the outside. And it's just absolutely heartening to have all these savior women, you know, these women who saved him, and each one of them being strong and being willing to sacrifice herself for the greater good, for him. You know, being able to see their reactions as he's talking about having seen them. You know, Reiko looks so pretty, and Yu was, you know, doing fine without her father, and all this kind of stuff. And even at the end, he's like, and those guys, you know, like, okay, who's he talking about? But of course they're showing Nakamura and Inoue. And I love that they all kind of hide. They don't want him to be held back at all. They want him to be unbidden with the challenge he has now laid before him of entering this cave, facing up to whatever's in there as the potential one true master of the Beast Spear. I guess it's almost like that thing from Empire Strikes Back. You know, this is going to be that moment where Luke goes down in that cave and he confronts himself. He confronts that Darth Vader, spoiler alert, you know, where he knocks the head off, and there is his face contained within. It kind of reminds me like it might be going in that direction, you know. Here he's going to be facing off against a collective aspect of Hakama no Mono. And this is going to be his one true challenge to see if he is the guy. And, you know, all bets are off anyway. Going 19 episodes in next week, all bets are off that he is the guy. But, I mean, this is the challenge that he must pass so everyone else in the world knows it for a fact. And I'm just so juiced for it. I'm so amped for it. And I love that point at the end. Once again, sort of misty-eyed, laughing, and goosebumps inducing. When, of course, Nakamura's like, well, let's go party like we said we were going to do and everything. Thing like that. Let's let Ushio do this. Let's have confidence in him. He'll be coming back to us. And everybody, collectively, with grins on their faces, they're like, no, he's not coming back to us. He's coming back to you. I'm just like, hell yes. Yeah, this show is full on just awesome sauce. Every episode has been, especially since like the mid-season turning point, as I've talked about in previous videos, it's just amped up to the nth degree. I mean, this is like Spinal Tap, pushing it to an 11, you know? And I'm loving it. Every episode is pushed to 11, and I couldn't get more out of it, you know? Just freaking bring on the next one. Love to hear from you guys what you thought of episode 18 of Ushio to Tora, if you've seen it, if you enjoyed it as much as I did. And if not, why not? Let me know in the comments below. Love having the conversation with you guys. Otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.